Well, while our speakers are coming back to the podium, let me just say this too. In my office, we prepared a document which we called Heat, Humanity and the Hockey Stick about health and climate change last year, and exactly what Arnagretta has just said. We didn't make much of the fact that smoke was going to be the hazard that it has clearly been over this last summer. So collaboration is our imagination, and we probably would have written a better paper if we'd had this conversation then. But if you want to know about heat, humanity and the hockey stick, that's the issues paper to have a look at. Now, I generally like to start with a question from the audience, and I'm told that there is a young woman who is going to raise a question with the panel. Who have I got? Yes, over there, thanks. Yes, the lady with the blonde hair. Do you want to stand up and start talking, or somebody will find you with a microphone? I'm going to ask you all, we're running out of time just to ask the question too, so no long commentaries, but please proceed.
Robert Glasser said that Queensland is the most vulnerable of all the states, and yet it seems that the politicians that are most obstructive to climate policy are from Queensland. We've had Matt Canavan, we've now got Keith Pitt, we've got Barnaby Joyce. Do you have any suggestions about how we might make those politicians make the connection between extreme weather events and climate change?
Thanks very much. Robert, would you like to respond to that, Arnagretta or Mark? We've all got a microphone there, Robert.
So, Queensland is the most exposed hazard. Vulnerability, of course, is different. Person vulnerabilities, but the politics of the issue is interesting because there has been some public opinion surveys that actually show Queensland in general, the population mirrors a lot of that increasing concern about climate change that Mark showed us earlier. So this is really about, I think you have to look more deeply into the politics of individual electorates and the like. So the only thing I'm confident of, sadly, is that the politics will change on this issue, just because the scale of the hazards is increasing and the pace at which that's happening is increasing as well. So it might, the real question is, can we, does it happen fast enough to begin, globally in fact, to enable us to head off really dangerous climate change?
Thanks. Mark, would you like to comment?
It's an interesting one, obviously the sort of conservative nature of politics in Queensland comes into play. But there's also, I think, potentially a biophysical element there. And Queensland's actually got one of the most variable climates globally, so it is the most variable rainfall anywhere. And so when you've got very variable conditions, it's very hard to determine change because you've got so much noise around the signal. And so maybe they're just responding to what they see, and they can't see that signal because of the noise.
Arnagretta?
I don't know if we've got anyone here from the Australian Institute, and I'm going to quote the poll, I don't get it wrong. But there was a great survey that they did at the beginning of the year that was looking at attitudes to climate change, and partly it was reflecting the fact that almost everybody who's been exposed to bushfires and bushfire smoke this year has noticed a change to their health and well-being, so people have made that association. But what I thought was really interesting in that poll was both looking at populations of people who were in the bushfire zone and those outside the bushfire zone. There was about 30% of people did not see a clear-cut link between climate change and the bushfire events that we just experienced. And that's where I think we need to focus our debate, is thinking about who is in that 30%, who's not making the association between anthropomorphic climate change and the extreme weather events that we're seeing. And how can we help to make that link a little bit clearer? Because I think that will help with action.
Thank you. I've got a question here, Juliet, and I need you to come back and look at this machine for me, but I do know there's a question from Dr. Ian Anderson about the question of tipping points, and it's directed specifically to you, Mark, about the question of tipping points. And what Ian wanted to know was, what do you think about where we currently are? Are we at a tipping point in any way, shape or form? And if we are, what's the action we need?
It's actually not the highest ranked question. But I guess what I was drawing about in the previous discussions we've had about tipping points is just how the particular word has particular connotations and it can actually generate feelings of hopelessness in people, simply because once you're over a tipping point, that there's no return. And I think we need to have conversations where we do have a pathway for return. And so that's why I tend not to use that particular set of words there. And there's a whole range of other reasons why I don't do that. In terms of tipping points, I think probably the biggest tipping point we've passed is actually social. The nature of conversations that we have which start to negate or ignore climate change, I think are actually to some extent a thing of the past for many people, is that it's just become so embedded into the understanding of the world for many people that I think we've passed that point, but for many, but not all people, that we can't go back.
Anybody else? Arnagretta? No? Robert? Thank you. I now have the next question, which is on the screen there, Mark. What strategies can we employ at a micro-community level, neighbourhoods, streets, apartment blocks to foster awareness, innovation and resilience? This might be one for you, Arnagretta, and then we'll come to Robert.
Look, it's really interesting. When I think about the health impacts of this particular summer, okay, with bushfires, smoke, really high temperatures and extraordinary drought, so that our local resilience with water has been affected. What's the best policy response in that space? It's almost certainly got to do with how we foster community, so helping people to work together locally. And it's got to do with how we build our houses and how we create our environments. And so I think that it's, when I think about the politics of climate change and when I think about the way in which we're going to act as a community, we're going to continue some focus federally, but it's what we can do locally which will make a big difference to how we survive. And so I think these conversations around local responses are tremendously important from a health perspective.
Robert, would you like to comment?
Well, disasters affect really when they strike communities, and those are individuals, and the resilience of the community. It's a bit like saying, how do you determine whether a community is vulnerable to a disaster? And it starts with, of course, a variety of physical elements like the location of infrastructure, the hazards, how prone they are to hazards. But it's really often the softer stuff, the relationships people have. There's some interesting studies that suggest that communities in less developed countries that are religious recover more quickly from hazards. But the strength of the connections between communities and neighbours is really key as well. So there are a whole range of factors, including and policy approaches like education, educating in schools, looking after people who are vulnerable, particularly vulnerable, like people who are hearing impaired or disabled in other ways. So there's a range of initiatives that can help build that resilience. But often I think it's the soft, what usually is described as the soft stuff that actually makes the biggest difference.
And Mark, you've done a lot of work all over Australia on exactly this point. What do you want to say?
I'll just really briefly, because Caroline Hendricks is going to talk about this a little bit later, but I think there's a real pent-up need for people to take action, and the action point at the moment is largely local, and it's the things that are within the sphere of influence of different people, and so that then gives people a feeling of empowerment and hope, and that's what we need.
One of the things that we've been doing in communities I'm involved in is actually telling people who've done the right thing, they've done the right thing. So, for instance, recently we all sent an email or a direct message via Twitter to Matt Keane, who's the Environment Minister of New South Wales, and said, good work, well done, Angus. And what happened when we did that was we all got a response that said, thank you, we've got a fight on our hands. So there's a way of having that conversation. I'm going to take a question from the audience now, because that's what I'm told to do, 2 there and 1 here. So there's a question up there, a lady with a hand up. Yes, thanks.
I'm not sure this picks up on Robert's adaptation theory and also Mark's world of the environmental issues, but I'm wondering if, in a sense of political adaptation, there could be some interest in the World Economic Forum, I think, recommended recently that to really have an impact on the supply of coal, perhaps national reserve banks that actually buy out the coal resources and work on that. But it will need Arnagretta Hunter to expand her cardiology to look at the hearing impaired options at the political level.
Right. I think as a cardiologist, she'd probably say that's not her sphere of excellence, but she might want to comment anyway. Who'd like to comment on that? Mark, you have the microphone. It's sort of about why can't we change the economic system to make things work?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, the market is already moving on coal, and there's hugely lower investment in new power plants, if that's the way to put it. It hasn't gotten to zero, but the preparedness of banks to finance coal, for big investors like BlackRock to finance coal, and for insurers to insure coal, is just diminishing really quickly. And so a lot of the big players are just bailing out of coal very quickly. So that doesn't get rid of the existing coal-fired power plants, etc. That's a transition issue that we've yet to deal with in this country. But if you look at, say, the UK, they've effectively already got rid of all of their coal. So it used to be a big part of their energy system. Now it's roughly speaking half renewables and half gas. So they're well on that way. They haven't. Brexit might impact them badly, but this transition away from coal hasn't. And so, I just don't think there's not a need for governments to step in if we're prepared to take a gradual removal of coal out of our energy system. There is a need for them to step in if we want a rapid removal of our energy system.
Other panelists, Rob?
Yeah, I think there are three, to use the word tipping points, that are transforming this debate. One is the public opinion change, and this is mirrored globally, actually, not just in Australia. The second is the renewable energy, this unprecedented energy transformation that's happening. Never seen anything like this happen in our history. And the third is actually the role of the finance sector that's the least appreciated. The role the finance sector is playing in promoting this transition, because there are a number of initiatives that are requiring, or that are currently voluntary, requiring financial regulators, requiring or encouraging firms to declare their exposure both to hazards that climate change is amplifying and also their assets that are linked with fossil fuels and the risks associated with that. It's generally expected that over time that will move from being voluntary to be required, and as it does, it's going to redirect really billions and billions of dollars away from fossil fuels and away from exposure to hazards.
Anybody, did you want to say anything? No? Okay. It may not satisfy the questioner, but of course, when you're talking to business, they're all very impressed, and I don't mean in a cavalier sort of way, with what's happening with BlackRock and with the financial institutions around that saying we're not going to be funding stuff that involves carbon emissions. It's worth keeping that in mind when you're feeling despairing. The next question actually arises directly out of Alan Finkel's pragmatic advice given at the press club today. Now, let me say I was there, and there were a number of things he said, and amongst them, of course, was that hydrogen might be the hero that saves us some of what we are anticipating, accepting the science that we've heard here today. But what the question is in front of us is about that absolute question of is gas a good transitional fuel? And Mark, you probably have something to say about that.
I mean, going back decades, there was lots of analysis about gas as a transition fuel, and so was posited as the way to move to a more sustainable energy future. These days, of course, our gas domestically is incredibly expensive. We actually export most of our gas at international prices, and to buy gas in Australia we actually have to pay more than the international price, which is I find mind-boggling, and I can't quite compute that one. But so gas is expensive. It's a really good sort of rapid response energy system, so that has a place. But it still produces greenhouse gases. It produces about half as much as burning coal per watt of energy. But it still produces greenhouse gases. It's not a solution to climate change. And so the issue there is that if we invest large scale in terms of gas infrastructure, we're effectively locking into that as a energy source and as an emission source something like 20 years or something, whilst that infrastructure remains viable. And so for me, there's a real problem with moving to gas big time, which is about that lock-in. And so we really have to, we've got roughly speaking 10 years before we use up globally our emissions budget that's consistent with keeping temperatures down to 1.5 degrees. So, if we're going to have polluting infrastructure that has a 20-year lifespan, we've already decided, we've made a decision at that point that we've given up on 1.5. So that's one of the things there. The suggestion in the question, which is about producing hydrogen from coal and gas, is one of them. Again, I can't compute this. That's an incredibly inefficient way to actually generate energy. Even though it might be clean at the point of combustion, it's incredibly unclean, in the production, unless you can capture carbon dioxide. And that's it's never been done commercially anywhere in the world, and we've spent billions of dollars trying to actually do that. So if you're going to generate hydrogen, do it renewably, produce green hydrogen. And that's actually a really viable proposition. We've got the energy in Australia to do that, solar and wind. We've actually got the brains to do it, but we have to move past the current debate, which is holding us back.
Interestingly, at that press conference, the press club lunch this morning or this afternoon, it was very clear to me that Professor Finkel was also saying that there is, in fact, nothing at the moment that suggests that we've tested or proved carbon capture, and that's essentially one of the things that needs to happen for this particular argument to have flight. Did you want to say anything more? Arnagretta?
I just wanted to make a comment about just terminology. So there is this growing enthusiasm using gas as a transition fuel, and there's particularly this political line. I find it easier if I call it methane. So I just refer to this methane.
Okay, I think we've got a question here. You've got one there? Yes, question from the floor, thanks. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'd like to ask about energy usage. We talk about transitioning to renewable energy. That is still polluting. That is still going to heat the earth. Even transitioning to 5G is going to be incredibly environmentally compromising. Why aren't we talking about immediately reducing our energy use, whether it's renewable or fossil fueled, to something maybe 50% of what we're using at the moment? Because as our population increases and everyone's increasing their energy usage, we're going to have something that we can't even imagine happening.
Okay, so that's about a whole question of efficiency. Who'd like to comment on that? Can I say too that you're not alone in that argument? I mean, people like Alan Pearce from RMIT have been making that point forever, that are thinking about how we efficiently use the energy that we have available to us is 30% of our problem, or 30% of our solution.
Already answered the question.
You do it, Mark, come on.
No, absolutely. So often, but not always, improving efficiency and reducing our demand is the first cap of the rank. It's the first thing we should do. But even though we've known that for a long time, and people like Alan Pearce have been onto that for a long time, it hasn't necessarily happened in various industries. And so there's various barriers that are preventing those industries making that step. I think we've got to do many things. So it's not about just focusing on demand side management. We've got to deal with the supply side. When you look at, say, the life cycle analysis of solar panels or wind turbines, they pay back in energy terms and pollution terms usually within 1 or 2 years. So you're ahead of the game after 1 or 2 years by putting those particular technologies in. So yes, they do cause greenhouse gas emissions in their production, but that's relatively quickly paid back. So we need to look at that, the supply side and the demand side management. But you actually raise a really important question, that's population. And so achieving any of these goals whilst we're going from 8 billion to 9 to 10 to 11 billion people just makes it harder and harder. And I'm not arguing from any point of view except one of simple mathematics, that more people just makes these challenges more difficult.
The other thing that comes from that observation about population, of course, always is that we will do something about population when we make sure that girls get an education and contraception is free. And we know that. We also know, and there's a lot of work that's been done about this, that the people who are vulnerable to what climate change is going to do to them are women and girls, and they do stand out as one of the really significant vulnerable populations all over the world. So it's a really interesting question and a real challenge.
It's also, could I just
Yes,
add to that?
please, Robert.
It's also very much part of the global debate about who needs to cut, who's responsible for this and who needs to cut. Because many of the countries where the population growth rate is high are countries that are developing, still developing. They're the ones, as you commented, that are most exposed and vulnerable to this problem that they haven't created. And of course, we can't deny them the opportunities to develop, to reduce poverty, just because we're now beginning to worry about how these climate is affecting us and our lifestyle, our wealth and lifestyle. So yes, and educating a girl is probably the single most efficient way of achieving that.
Thanks very much. Arnagretta?
I think it's a really good question to ask about what our consumption does. And it just reminds me that we do spend a lot of time talking about energy, I think for really good reasons, that we're very keen to get carbon neutral, carbon negative energy environment. But that's a third of the problem. And so the rest of our carbon pollution problem comes from how we live. So the solutions to this extraordinarily difficult problem can't be seen in one industry or in one perspective of society. And so one of the things I would very much like to see, and as I said about the challenge of smoke, is the cross-collaboration. So that we're talking about how we work, how we live, where we live, and the way in which our society runs best to take care of ourselves, to get the best well-being, the best economic, if that's our goal. And so it's a much more complicated discussion than just thinking about energy transition.
We're back to the computer, driven by the computer, and you can all see the question at the top there, which is, will our stand impact our EU-UK negotiations? Can I park that? I know that that's actually the one that has the most votes. Can we go to the one that is in fact there by Marwa, which is resilience theory states that shocks that hit a system can lead to positive actions to adaptation and or transformation. How can we capitalise on recent events, particularly fires that shocked our system, to start transformative changes? Which of those questions do you want? Hands up for the first question. Hands up for the second one. I think the second one's got it. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Robert.
So what I've observed globally in the job I had previously before coming back to Australia was that time and time again you see incremental change in improving resilience and adaptation with strong leadership at the top, usually the Prime Minister or President. You see less dramatic change if it's just well-meaning bureaucracies trying to improve things. You see the biggest change right after a major disaster, because that's the point at which governments are embarrassed, people are angry, it's very visible, and there's a very small window of opportunity to make a change in that environment before things revert to business as usual. So I would say one of the best, the most effective things I've seen done is to begin developing the policies, the changes, the investments that are required to address not just the hazard that is likely to just strike, but multiple hazards, because that's a problem with responding just to the disaster that's just happened. You can actually create vulnerability to other hazards. But to get that legislation and other things in place that is comprehensive and effective so that when the big disaster strikes, there's political will and you can implement something quickly. And I've seen that work, and I think it's, speaking of the national level, but that's, I think, one of the most effective ways to do that.
Others?
I guess my take on this is slightly different. I think the sort of transformation that can happen really constructively is one in our debate. And I mentioned it in my talk. It's actually about moving away from a debate which just focuses on the costs of change to one which is much more comprehensive, and it's about the costs and benefits of change. It's the cost and benefits of climate change impacts, and it's the cost and benefits of climate adaptation responses, and actually looking at this in a much more integrated way. And increasingly what we're seeing coming out of the science literature and the economics literature is the costs of inaction grossly outweigh the costs of action when you do something akin to that more comprehensive analysis. And so I think the biggest transformation is one which we move that debate away just from the cost side. We can't do this because it costs too much, and actually saying, well, what does it cost if we don't do this?
Okay. You're comfortable? Yeah. We're biting into your afternoon tea, but I think you probably want us to, don't you? I know? Okay, you do. I can tell you do. I can tell you do. Can I just make this observation, responding to both of the panellists who just responded to that question. You may not agree with everything that the independents in the federal parliament are doing at the moment, but you might like to let Zali Steggall know that her legislation is not a bad step in the right direction. I'm sure she'd be delighted to hear from you. We also could go back to the EU-UK question, but I do see that it's been overtaken by Hannah Lynn's question, which is, what are your opinions on the roles of grassroots activism versus trying to change the system from within? Arnagretta, you're a cardiologist and you've been trying to change the system from within. You continue to do it. What do you think?
I think there's probably a good understanding in this room that it's been a frustrating decade or more, and that we haven't seen the changes that we probably all thought we needed. And that I think, again, for most of us, we're working both in and outside systems. So I still put a lot of time into trying to change the federal political landscape. I'm a big fan of that Zali Steggall approach last week in the Helen Haynes, Rebecca Sharkey and Andrew Wilkie cohort. I think are offering us a political solution which we should all be paying attention to. But I also think I'm quite serious about the community action. Mark's point before, that for many of us, it's actually part of our mental health strategy in handling eco-anxiety, dealing with the existential threat of climate change, is working with friends, working with communities, working outside the square, working outside conventional structures. That's part of our own coping strategy for extraordinarily difficult times.
Robert, you do this all the time, working inside the system and thinking about the solutions from outside. Would you like to comment?
Well, I think my comment's kind of similar to the point I made earlier, but if it's sort of like, where's the fire for change? So in government, if the Prime Minister wants something to happen, including for the Australian Defence Forces to play a more prominent role in disasters, then the bureaucracy jumps and moves very fast. If there's no fire for change, particularly in the political system, then the bureaucrats generally do whatever they can to make improvements. So the big changes are happening in the finance sector, they're happening in the public sphere and at grassroots level. The action the people are taking to create fire that will then influence government to make changes. And I think it's absolutely common.
Thanks, Rob. I think this is an incredibly complex issue, and it covers almost every aspect of human livelihoods, our environments, our economy, our health, etc. There's room for many, many, many different types of voices here, and it's not one or the other, it's actually all of those voices which have to be heard. And because no single person, no single voice is actually able to cover the ground and be able to have the influence that's needed. So for me, I love the fact that we've got Greta up there giving stick to big business, etc., and making them reflect a little bit on flying into Davos on their private jets and in their helicopters, etc. But at the same time, I love the fact that we've got some fantastic people in public service working inside the system, doing that change from within and everything in between and more. And so for me, this is actually about a celebration of diversity because we're stronger together.
Thank you. We're now well over the time for this particular panel and forum, and they ask us when we take on this role to do a bit of a summary. Can I say something that I've said on at least 2 or previous occasions here in the ACT? Canberra, you are public servants, you are retirees, you are people with superannuation. If you want to do something, shift your super. That's the starting point, I think. But they do ask us to say something about what you've actually heard here today, and you've heard some gloomy stuff, you've heard some challenging stuff, but you're here because you know it's important to get informed. And if you're informed, you're able to inform other people. So step 1, I've heard, get informed, get the good science, get the goods, make sure that you're out there proselytising if that's what it takes, but certainly discussing. The second thing is, and these questions just went to it, what do you do next? You get active, shift your super, Canberra. And the third thing is, I've heard from all of our speakers who've got no real reason not to despair. They've been here for decades asking themselves these questions. But the third thing is, don't despair, because the crisis that we've just been through, and I'm personally exposed to some of that fire stuff from Victoria in 2009, is galvanising. It's galvanising, it assists people to make the right choice in how they can advance this conversation, and it means that there are people out there prepared to listen who previously might not have been. Lastly, can I say this, and I heard this from our speakers, it's not a time to think that polarised points of view are the way forward. And I wouldn't have voted for Zali Steggall because I vote for the Labor Party or whatever else, but I certainly am sending her an email to say, good work, well done, Zali. This is a time for getting informed, getting active, and making sure that we embrace people who are new to this conversation. Many of you have been here for every one of these particular forums. There are people here who are new to this conversation. Embrace them, and let's make sure that they know we welcome them as part of the change we need to see. That's what I heard. Thank you.